Okay, so today I'm going to be working on a Friedr razor. It's a straight razor kit that you can buy from Smoky Mountain Knife Works. And when I posted it originally on Instagram, they replied themselves and said these are actually antique blades and handles bought from the old factory collection. So um, it's not a simple throw it together kit either, and that's what I'm going to be showing you today. I'm going to show you a couple of things actually. So first, here is a straight razor that I made a while ago. Everybody calls it the butter knife because it kind of looks like one, but it is actually a shaving razor. It's a wedge. It is not hollow ground. I don't know if you can really see that, but it's got flat grounds on it. So just to show you a couple other, these are vintage razors here. This one is a Broadway. It's from Buffalo, New York, Weiss's Barber Supply Company. And these are razors that I actually use when I do shave. And I've restored them to usable condition. This one, I mean, it's a very basic, plain, straight razor. And the next one I'm going to show you is actually going to be kind of the model we're going to be going off of for this Friedr. So this is an inland city. It comes from a barber named Iceman in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, and this is actually my favorite one. And this one has an important feature on it that you're going to need to take note of for these kits from Smoky Mountain. So the kit comes with a little baggie. It's got some little brass washers in it and a brass pin that I have sitting over here, and that's for assembling it. You want to be careful not to lose it because they are small. It comes with these scales. These appear to be a white bone with a spade inlay. They also have black bone with a white inlay as well. And I think they have two, so you have the two hand or scale options, and then you have two different blades. One is a little bit shorter, one is longer. Now these blades, they appear to be oil quenched and heat treated. So they are relatively hard, but they are fileable, and that's very important. You don't really want to use power tools on them. But these appear to be drop forged. You can actually see right here the scale. That'll all be smoothed out. Mostly importantly, what I'm going to talk about isn't finishing work on these, it's assembly work. So the blades are square edge. I don't know if you can really see that. They are not sharp at all. There's no edge on these whatsoever. So that's important too. Now, one of the things that I'll show you right off the bat is I'm going to assemble it carefully. So the scales, of course, are very tight together, but it's really simple. You just fit your blade in there and you kind of look for the hole that goes through. And once it's lined up, you take your pin and just go through all three. Now, it appears to go together pretty easily, except when you push it down to close it. As you see, it spreads the scales apart very far, almost 1/8 of an inch on each side, and it's not closed all the way. The reason for that is you'll see right here on this blade, this is again the inland city. Right here, you see this change in the reflection. There is a bevel in the neck on the shank here. And as you see on the Friedr blade, there is not. It is perfectly flat, kind of like that inland. The problem with that is the shank here flares out towards the blade. So you have to put a bevel right about, I'll draw it with the white pencil on here, goes in right about there. Now how you do that is very simple. You just take a flat, like a mill bastard file, and you literally are going to be filing in the same angle from the spine of the blade to the edge. And that will be your angle guide for filing that part. Now the reason for that is because when you go to sharpen a straight razor, you take your sharpening stone, you literally just lay it on the stone, spine to blade, spine to edge, just like that. And that's actually how you sharpen them. You don't lift them up, you keep them flat. And that's actually how you can kind of judge how long a blade's been in use, is how much wear is on the spine. So you need that bevel, for one, for sharpening it correctly, and two, for it to close correctly without spreading those scales So you're going to see that. But what we're going to do is just clamp this blade in here and start filing it down. And again, I'm not going to focus on finish work here. Now the vise, I use leather, just a couple leather pads in there. I've used the same thing for years for knife making and gunsmithing. So we're going to show you here. So again, just take your flat file. That's all you really need. You're going to hold it at that same angle, and you want to try and keep the angle. And you just want to file that down. Now again, these are heat treated. They're hardened and tempered, but not so bad that you won't be able to do this. And you'll know when to stop when you can see that you're contacting the edge and the spine at the same time. And you can, of course, check it against a block or a piece of flat plate glass. Once you have both edges hitting, you're good. We do not yet, but it's already part of the way there. And what I'm recommending is using hand tools. As you see, I'm in the living room of my apartment. This is where I do all my metal and woodworking, all kinds of stuff here, because I don't have a garage. I live in an apartment. So as you can see, the bevel's starting to show there, and we'll smooth it out to go further out. But as you can see, I'm hitting the spine and the blade edge, and that's very important. Again, you'll file more down, but you just want to mostly break that edge off of there. Let's put it back in the vise and let's do the other side. As you see, that only took a minute or two. So you can literally just sight down it and look for the gap until the gap disappears between the two. But again, because these blades are heat treated, I recommend using hand tools. You don't need a special shop to assemble these in. You don't even need a garage to assemble them in. Okay, so just like on the other side, as you see, the bevel's coming together. So what we'll go ahead and do now, again, this edge is square. It's not sharp at all. You rub this all day long and you might get a blister. You won't get cut. So you have to put your edge on there as well. So what I'm going to do is just file just like I was doing, but now I'm going to go down the spine and the face until I get an edge on there, a rough edge, and that will allow us to sharpen it. And again, I'm not going to do any of the finishing work. I'm just going to show you what you basically need to assemble this and get it in usable condition. Finishing, I'll leave that up to you if you want to leave the oil quenched look to it, or if you want to polish it to mirror polish, if you want to get rid of the drop forge casting marks, that's fine too. That's completely up to you. So let's go ahead and do this. And you can just feel it hitting the spine and the edge. You could also draw file it down, but it's not required. When working with metal and your files, always file in one direction. You don't want to drag the file backwards. That can actually damage the teeth on it. So working with wood, not so important, but steel, definitely. So just to show you what's going on here, as you see now, your file, you're getting your spine and your edge work down. And we're almost there on that one side. But that'll give you a nice flat edge for your razor, because when you're shaving, you ideally just want that very flat edge. That's why the hollow ground is there, to prevent resistance against your skin. So we'll keep working that edge. And basically what you do is you just work it with a file, then you move to finer files. I'm going to use needle files eventually. And then you can polish it with stones. And that's it. Let's do this side now. Again, you don't need a shop to do this, so if you see these kits online and you want to buy one, go ahead and buy one. You can do these anywhere. And as you see, it doesn't take very long. To get them going. Steel is very hard. It's not annealed at all. But it's not, again, it's tempered, so it's not so hard that you can't file it. And again, you just want to keep it even with the blade edge and the spine, just for the sake of sharpening in the future. You want it flat from there, and file those bevels in onto the shank as well. So when you go down low, hit the shank, because as you file the edge, it's going to go lower, and you want that shank to have the bevel that's the same. Okay, as you see, we're only 15 minutes into this video, and getting a little warm, but not too bad. We're starting to get an edge on there. Now that we're getting close to an edge, we'll get rid of the big file. We'll go to a little bit finer one and clean it up a little bit. Again, you can clean those bevels up, and you can even bring them down even more, so they're definitely not an issue in the future if you want. So now we're going to switch to a little bit finer file. It's mostly just to clean up the existing file and work the edge. Now we're getting there. So now we'll switch over to needle files. Now the needle files, I said keep only go in one direction. These needle files are double cut, so you can go both ways with them. Don't worry about raising a burr on the blade because you're going to stone these anyway, and you're going to remove that burr. And just hit the other side. You may want to draw file that. That side's a little bit rougher. You can draw file it. You don't know what draw filing is. You literally just lay the blade flat and pull a file along it. Helps smooth it and straighten it. So let's go ahead and do that. And here has some roughness to it. Draw filing will give you almost a satin edge. Those rough spots out. There we go. Now we'll go back to this one. Flip it over. Do the same thing to the other side. Yeah, see, that side is definitely rougher. Draw filing will take out those ridges and smooth it right up. Just make for a better fine filing. Again, I ordered these from Smoky Mountain Knife Works. I didn't see them in their store. I think it's only an online order thing, even though they're right down the street from me in Sevierville, only about 30 minutes away from me in Knoxville. But if you're interested in knife making supplies, they have a whole knife making shop there if you can make it out. It's always great. And then I really enjoy that in their relic room a lot. We're going there actually tomorrow night. And probably going to buy more stuff. But if you're interested in making knives and kits or parts or even just billets, they do sell billets there as well, of hardenable steel and even Damascus billets. It's all there. So it's a great place if you're wanting to get started in that and you're not sure where to go. I definitely recommend them. I've made a couple knives from them. One was for a friend in West Virginia. It's a skinning knife, a buffalo skinner that I made for him with a walnut handle. And then I also made this little beauty. It's a Mountain Man spinner. It's got an octagonal walnut handle. I make my own rivets. They're just copper rivets. And I put the spinning loop on it. I welded that on at work. And then I just did a little serpentine design on the spine. But you know, this is a pretty decent knife. It's stainless. It's not carbon steel, which I prefer carbon, but it works for what I wanted it for. But I bought the blade there, and then of course I make the scales and the sheath myself here, just to my right, on the couch there. Okay, so we are starting to get an edge. It's of course not a refined edge, but there is an edge on there, and we got the bevels in it. So the bevels I actually want to bring down a little bit more, so I'm going to file those, just the bevels. Like I said, you at least want them matching the angle of the spine to the edge, but I want them down even a little bit more, so I'm going to do that right now. So unlike most knife kits, this is a little more involved. A lot of the knife blades and blanks you buy from them are ready to go, ready to be mounted. They're already sharp. Maybe not as sharp as I'd like them, maybe not as sharp as you'd like them, but they're sharp enough. They're factory sharp at least, and they're easy to make. Knife making is not too hard. If you ever get a chance to look at the book, I think it's like $50 Knife Shop or something like that. It's a great start. Gives a lot of good advice on how to start making knives. And most anything you need is there. They even sell antler and I think horn and of course wood scales as well, or scale making material, and some synthetics as well if you want to make synthetic scales. So definitely check them out. Again, if you want to finish this up, you can use probably some 80 grit sandpaper, going up in grits, and then polishing it if you want. Okay, so let's see how this fits to our scales now. Now we got the bevel, we've got a rough edge ground in there. Let's see what we can do with it. So again, take your scales. They're pre-assembled on the bottom end, so just pry them apart, line up the holes. You can see some daylight. Insert your pin. It still separates them, but not as bad, and it closes all the way now. Now it closes all the way. So it still separates, but again, you can actually feel on the vintage ones there's tension. There's just half as much tension as there was by putting those little bevels in there. And if you want, you can always draw a line. Just take your white pencil and you can bevel that whole part down right there if you want, which I think I'm going to do because I just want a smoother action. Or if you really want, you can thin the whole shank down if you want. That's just completely up to you. It's your knife. You do what you want with it. So let's get our leather pads back in here. Oops. Probably not going to go all the way to my line, but I'm going to use it as a guide here. So what I did was extend the bevel even further. That's it. And I was content with it the way it was before, but I just wanted to bring that up a little bit. So now, I said I wasn't going to go into finishing work, but that is something we can do here anyway. Also, where the hole is punched through the blade, it's a little rough. You can draw file those sides as well, just to bring them down if you want. To do that sideways though. And again, there is a slight edge on the blade. It's not terribly sharp right now, but it's something you don't want to. You don't want to cut ourselves on that. And draw filing it on the sides and the flats will, of course, make it a little bit smoother, make it a little bit easier to finish, give a smoother action as well. So again, it just cleans it up, and we'll work towards, that'll help for final finishing, because I am actually polishing your blade, just not going to do it all tonight. Again, this is just mostly fitting and what you need to get to a basic blade. So we'll at least get it to that so you can see that tonight. Maybe I lied. Maybe I'll do some finish work on it. Maybe not a full polish, but we'll get more of it cleaned up here. Actually see some flaws in the casting for the drop forge job when you draw file it. Which is fine, it's not going to affect the performance of the blade. I'll show you what I mean here. You can actually see right by my finger, maybe there's a little dark spot there, but that's at least the sides cleaned up. So there's your basic, how you're going to get this to fit in the handle or in the scales. Again, you really need to put that bevel on the front that matches the spine to the edge angle. Again, it's just that flat angle right there. Should be able to slide off smoothly without hitting a bump. That's really important to keep the scales from bending too much. They, of course, will bend. I mean, that's how the other ones work too. But again, you don't want it to be pressing it out 1/8 of an inch when this blade is sitting with the edge right at the scales like this. You don't want that splitting 1/8 of an inch, because if you push it all the way down, it's going to be almost 1/4 of an inch split on each side. And that risks breaking these. There should be some tension on it though, just like there is on this inland. It does actually press out a little bit when you push it together, and that just helps hold it together. And over time it'll loosen and wear. This one as well, you can feel it. You can actually feel right about here it starts to get tension. As you see, it goes in slow, but you can feel the tension. So that's the basics of what you're going to need to get one of these to fit right. And I guess I'm just going to keep going with it and working on it a little bit, and so that you guys can see what it'll look like. We'll get it cleaned up a little bit more. Just keep running with it. Again, draw filing is just for really smoothing things out. I'm not going to work except on the casting flash part up here. I might file normally just to get some of that off. Really, I'm just working on smoothing it out a little bit. So actually, let's do that now. Again, I'm just taking a casting flash. I don't want to really remove a lot of metal. Once it's even with the lower part, that's it. It's going to stop. Draw filing around part, you just got to keep moving, otherwise you'll make it flat. And you don't want to do that. On this round, I'm just not going all the way down to my spine side that we flattened out earlier to the edge. Just going down so there's no scale on it, or very little, and we can take off with a needle file and smooth everything out. Again, you'll start to see the inclusions that are in the drop forging when you do this. There's nothing wrong, that doesn't hurt anything. So, as you see, you can still see where it's dark and where we're lightening it up. Again, you go to thinner files, and then you can use diamond stones or wet stones or whatever you want to actually get a super smooth finish on it. Once you get your super smooth finish, then of course you can polish it however you want. So as you can see, you can see the change in the color there. Both those parts are steel and not scale. And when you use the needle file, go across the grain of the draw filing you're doing. Again, you can choose to leave the scale on it if you want. It just doesn't make as nice a presentation. It'll be your knife when you make it, so you can do it however you want. There we go. I'm starting to take some of the draw filing grain out of it. As you get finer and finer on your filing and your sandpaper work, of course, the brighter the steel is going to get until it's mirror smooth. So it's going to have to be done in hand. You want to use a Dremel tool for final filing and polishing of most of the surfaces. That's fine, but do be aware of the heat. They still generate heat. That's why I'm not using power tools. Don't want to disturb the temper that's in it. Okay, so really the grinds, the hollows, and curve of the handle. The serrations I don't know how I'm going to clean those up yet, haven't decided, but I'll continue cleaning the blade up and I'll sharpen it just so you can see. I'm not going to fully assemble it because it's not ready yet, but we'll get it there. Okay, after that, because it's got a roundness to it, we're going to use elliptical file. Now, you'll want to put your final finish on this thing before you put an edge on it, but I'm going to leave the serrations and the hollows alone for now, and the reason for that is because I just want to go straight to the sharpening just to show you. So I've got some cheap diamond plates here. I'm going to use those first, and then we'll use the nice stone. Start with 300 grit. Again, you just lay it completely flat on the spine. And with diamond stones, you don't need to go very much. They cut super heavy. Holding the blade, I'd rather do it left-handed than holding it at a weird angle. So we're already getting pretty damn sharp. You notice I don't go straight across it like that. I go down the blade. I just found that for my techniques for sharpening, all my tools, all my knives, all my razors, that really works when you're working along the blade like that. It's just something I've done for years. All my blades, even my belt knife that I carry daily at work, and when not at work, I mean, I carry that thing every day, everywhere, is literally shaving sharp. Okay, let's so now we'll throw it on there. It won't hurt it. It's got a pretty sharp edge as is. It's not shaving sharp, of course, but it is damn sharp already. Okay. So let's move over to our stone. And again, the spine and the edge of the blade are touching at the same time. Over time, as you wear the edge down, you will wear the spine down, and that's how you can tell when it's ready to retire a straight razor. But you're probably talking, even if you shave every day, at least 2 generations of life out of a good straight razor blade. Could use a little more work, but it's getting there. This part's not as sharp as this part here. This part is definitely super sharp already. So I'll probably do a little more stonework on it just to get it evened out. But let's go ahead and strop it and just see if that part can get to shaving sharp already. So I don't have a lot of hair left on my arm because I've been sharpening a lot lately. So yeah, I have super fine hair on my arms, and it does take the hair off in that one part right here, about the bottom half of the blade. The top half still needs a little bit of work, but even it's pretty sharp. I mean, it's sharp enough that it can cut, not sharp enough to shave yet. But that's basically what you need to do with these razor kits from Smoky Mountain Knife Works, to get them to fit the scales right and to just start them going. Again, I will clean up the hollow grind and the serrations on the front. You don't have to. Again, you know, you look at these vintage blades and you can tell they were fully polished at one time, but they do get a patina on them. So, I mean, if you want it to look a little vintage, you can just leave it like that. It's not required. All you need to shave is an edge. You don't need beautiful steel all the way around. So again, that is Smoky Mountain Knife Works. It's smkw.com. You can go to their website, look up knife kits, straight razor, just do a search for it. And again, that is, what do they call them? Friedr Herder blades. So you got a couple different choices of blades, a couple different choices of scales. So you got a choice of 4. They're all hollow ground blades though. So if you're looking for a wedge, not a lot of people are, but they don't have them. Again, these were all, this was a closed factory purchase that they did. And again, they responded to me on Instagram when I posted a picture of it. So hopefully, you know, if they see this, they'll share this too, and let people know that these do take a little bit of work. These aren't just snap together kits. If you wanted to compare it to a model kit, it's not a snap tight. This is probably like a skill level 2 in a Revell. So you do have to do some work to actually get an edge on them and make them usable. You can't just buy these, snap the rivets together, throw it together, and start shaving with it. You got to put some work into it to fit it, make it look good, and make it usable. So there's 3 important things with it. But as you see, I mean, I got that far with it. I'll still do some work with papers and stuff to get it really smoothed out. Some stone work on some of the flats just to get a nice polish on it. But we got it able to fit right, and we got an edge that will shave a little roughly, but it shaves. So just take a little bit more work, and it wasn't even a full hour's worth of work. So if you want to put the time into it, these things aren't that expensive. I can't even remember how much I paid for it, but I want to say it was less than 20 bucks. It might have been 25, but it was dirt cheap for a good quality, potentially good razor. If you put the time and effort into it, I would say it's worth it. So again, go to smkw.com to order these. You can check out my Instagram. I'll put a link or something here. But yeah, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask. Cool.